The Islamic State shocked the Middle East not only because of its brutality, but also because it openly rejected existing state boundaries. Many pundits suggest that the 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement that drew the lines of the modern Middle East was original sin, although many of those states date their identities to before the colonial era. But even when borders are artificial and have no pre-modern precedent, governments can gain legitimacy in the eyes of their citizenry and craft national identity. If legitimacy is necessary to security and stability, what guarantees it? Is it tradition, tribal loyalty, religion, or could it be fear? Does quality of government, its ability to provide services, matter? As civil war and unprecedented challenges to existing governments spread across the region, perhaps it's time to ask, what makes government legitimate? Legitimacy in political science is the people's recognition and acceptance of authority by a government. So what makes a government legitimate? Let's look at a few factors and how they impact the Middle East. A nation-state is a country where a majority of its citizens share a culture, language, or ethnicity. Japan serves as a great example. Historically, France has as well. Generally, by these metrics, the United States doesn't. So is a nation-state legitimate by default? Not really. Egypt is a nation-state by most definitions. Its population is homogeneous. Egyptians share a language and broadly identify with the historical identity of Egypt. Yet the Arab Spring took the Cairo government by storm and saw the public overthrow longtime leader Hosni Mubarak. The United Arab Emirates was opposite. The UAE was unaffected by the Arab Spring and has had stable rule and prosperity. Its citizenry might be homogeneous. There are actually very few Emiratis, but its population is diverse, and hundreds of thousands of non-Emiratis make the nation their home. More broadly in the Middle East, religion plays a significant factor, especially Islam. Is it the key to legitimacy? Contrary to popular opinion, Islamic law per se might not be that important. Rather, the fact that it is mentioned might give people a meaningful sense their beliefs are represented. Let's take a look at Lebanon. Its constitution is confessional, reserving different political positions for different faiths. Lebanon is diverse religiously, and each group fears tyranny of the other. Yet one reason for the civil war, first in Lebanon and more recently in Syria, was religion. In Lebanon, Christians and Muslims fought each other as their proportions of population shifted, but government power didn't. In truth, many Middle Eastern states just use Islam to make their governments. So clearly, religion seems necessary to win government acceptance in the Middle East. But is it enough? Qatar's constitution helps shed more light on what makes Middle Eastern governments legitimate. Its constitution declares Islam as the state religion, but it also guarantees that the state will provide care for the young and will make education free of charge. That doesn't mean that Qatar is a free country, but in exchange for relinquishing many freedoms, the Qatari people get state services and cash in return. This is a simplified version of what political scientists call a social contract. Do social contracts and good governance form the basis of legitimacy in the Middle East? No. A country needs to be otherwise stable for a social contract to work. While Iraqis complained about the lack of government services in the wake of the US-led invasion, Shiites rallied around the parties that flew Shiite flags over those that actually delivered electricity, security, or clean water. That only goes so far, however. Many Iraqis now on the street say they are tired of corruption and government inefficiency and want a streamlined order, maybe dominated by a strong president. So maybe a king or a strongman can impose order? The conventional wisdom is that Arab monarchies are more stable than Arab republics, especially in countries that may be ethnically or tribally diverse. Monarchs become unifying symbols, not only as the head of state, but in some cases, harnessing religious legitimacy as well. But this argument doesn't even conform to recent history. While monarchies in Morocco, Jordan, and Kuwait have survived, monarchies in Egypt, Libya, and Afghanistan are long gone. There's no consistent factor that decided which monarchies survived and which were overthrown, except maybe recently where the oil-rich monarchies paid off their opposition or subsidized their poorer cousins in Morocco and Jordan to do likewise. So no, there is no magic formula which grants Middle Eastern governments legitimacy. Only one thing is certain: a generational change is underway that is iconoclastic, The new generation is unwilling to base legitimacy solely on ethnic identity or religion. Ultimately, however, demands for good governance are what may soon unite young generations across the diverse region. Existing governments should take note. If they don't, they ignore it at their own peril. To learn more about legitimacy, sovereignty, and the core problems facing the Middle East, check out the link in the description below. Also, let us know what other topics you'd like AEI scholars to cover on reTHINK, and be sure to subscribe for more videos and research from AEI.